do it.
I think of the 2's extra dry ad when I hear that.
Oh yeah, push me and then just touch me till I can get my
You've actually got the perfect voice for it as well.
satisfaction. Oh fuck! What a way to start. All right, let's do
Welcome
it.
back to the Balance Experience podcast.
Yes,
Jacko,
sir.
how's it going?
I'm good, Nico. How are you?
Mate, I
Going
am
well?
wonderful. Thank you very
Lovely,
much.
lovely.
I am
It's good to be
drinking a nice bottle of water right now,
Oh yeah.
and it's quite fresh.
Ooh, very
Yes.
nice.
What are you up to right now, Jacko?
Me, I'm also drinking the same bottle of water. Not
Well,
the exact same one, a different one. But and we just went for a lovely little lunch at Ribs and Burgers.
It was delicious.
Got a nice little lamb wrap.
Yeah, that was fantastic, actually.
bloody
little-
nice.
Oh, they got your order right this time?
They got my order right. Look, they didn't get my order completely wrong. They had the right meat in there, so I'll count that.
There you go.
I'll count that. But
Well done.
yeah, Ribs and Burgers, good feed, good feed.
Not bad at all.
Well, we have a very special guest. He is, well, I think extra special.
Very special.
He'd be someone I'd call a very important person to Balance Health and Performance, to me personally, and I think to the collective of our company. Jacko, do you want to introduce this wonderful guest?
So today, as Nico said, I think Nico put it perfectly. So today we have James Dimitroff, a chiropractor for us here, but also a really good friend of ours. And James has a really interesting story to tell. He's been through quite a bit, which we'll get to eventually in the podcast. But welcome, Dimo.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Dimo!
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
I think this has been a while in the making. We've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah,
Indeed.
So
been
I'm
looking
very
forward to this
excited to
one.
be here.
Yeah, for sure, mate.
We have a little thing at the clinic where we make animal sounds throughout, and we confuse the shit out of patients.
Yes.
And Grace.
And Grace, yeah, like a lot of new. It's part of the initiation process for new recruits. Do you want to give us a sound snippet?
Yeah, just get ready for this one, boys.
Okay.
Also known as the goat.
Ah, very nice.
Jack, what would your animal sound be?
I
How
knew
does,
you were
what does a
gonna ask
kangaroo make?
Yeah.
What sound does a kangaroo?
Skippy,
Boing.
Skippy.
Is that where he puts the gum leaves together?
No one's ever subjected me to the animal noise, actually.
Yeah, what animal
never
noise
had
would
to-
you be?
I don't know. I've never thought of one, actually, to be honest. Are we going to do this right now on the podcast?
Giraffe.
Giraffe. What's that? The long neck.
Oh, you're pretty tall.
Yeah, no, I haven't got one.
Nah.
I'll think of one before the end of the podcast. Come back to me. No.
That was such an anticlimax.
Yeah,
I was
it was.
waiting for like the best thing ever.
Well, give me an animal and I'll give you a sound.
Oh.
Well, what animal best represents you? Typically, mine is actually a
Well, I'm
monkey.
yeah.
Because they like to have fun.
Oh,
so
can
my
you give us
monkey
a
sound
monkey?
is.
Give
Oh shit.
Oh my gosh.
What animal best represents me? Well,
What's a fucking quiet one?
yeah,
One that
quiet.
doesn't make any fucking sound.
Quiet,
Over here.
lanky, always injured.
It's an
Giraffe.
Emu.
Emu.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
What
You
noise
look like
an
an
emu
emu.
make?
Probably.
Okay.
James,
Emus probably have terrible knees.
Probably.
They go the other way.
Can we hear the emu sound then?
I don't know what sound an emu makes. I guess it's.
It's a pigeon.
All right.
To all the listeners out there, we're very sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
We're very sorry.
I promise you the content gets better for me.
Jacko's a better podcaster host than
Yes.
he is a animal interpreter.
Yes.
That's
you would
all right.
Say that. Exactly.
Well, shall we begin? I don't know where to start.
Yeah, where shall we start, guys?
I don't know, where shall we start?
James Dimitroff, you're a chiropractor here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure.
For those that don't know.
I'm a chiropractor at Balance Health and Performance. I've been with the company for over 4 years now. Nick and I actually went to the same high school. Nick was my school captain when I was in year 9.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a small world that brought us around 360 that he's now a work colleague of mine and my boss. So I've enjoyed getting to know Nick at school, not only at school, but also in a work basis as well. So it's been very interesting. So I was probably a rugby tragic as a younger lad. Used to take my rugby very seriously, and then I realised that it was either going to be a profession or rugby as a profession, and I chose the profession. So I thought I got to stop playing here. the good old Manly Marlins. Shout out to the boys.
Yeah, the boys.
Yeah, the boys. No, I decided that it wasn't worth, getting injured for, and it's my job, our job, that we need to be on our game with our hands, our arms, got to be able to be standing. So, I couldn't, in my mind, it wasn't worth the risk of continuing to play while being a chiropractor as well. So, interesting enough, after uni, 5 years of study, I went to London to become a chiropractor.
Did you go to London?
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in London.
I thought you just had a job you hated here.
No.
Oh,
You studied in London or you worked in London?
No, well, I'm getting to it. Yeah.
Fucking hurry.
Well, I spent 8 years. I spent 8 years working in a bar, and then I decided, London was going to be my thing. I went to London, and it was nothing like what I'd thought.
No?
No, I just didn't fall in love with London as a city. It's
Really?
very grey. It's very monotone. There's no culture. Look, I'm a Greek boy. I love my food, and I was like, you have to go out and spend a bit of money to get good food in London. So I decided, I actually had a job interview. Went to the interview. 2 days later, they offered me the job, and I was in the Lakes District, just below Scotland, and I decided that London wasn't for me. So I did what any other 24, 25-year-old did, and spent all my money in travel for 4 months.
Yeah, right.
Which
Wow.
was incredible.
That's awesome.
Just
Once in a
partying.
lifetime opportunity. So
How long were you there?
take it.
4 months.
4
you said?
months.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
living in London for 4 months and
Yep.
then said, enough's enough, let's
No,
travel
I
Europe.
was actually living in London for 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
I am very impulsive. So if I'm not influenced straight away,
Yeah.
or I don't have a good inclination straight away, I'm like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yep.
Then it was a 2 month
I don't blame
bender.
Yeah, basically 4 months. 4 months.
4 month bender. Jesus.
No, look, it was fun. It was enjoyable.
fair Larry.
Sitting at like fine dining restaurants by yourself,
Yeah.
and they're expecting you to come with one more, and I'm like, no, it's just me and my book.
Just me treating myself.
Literally.
Were you reading?
Yeah, I was
You take a
reading
book
along
and
the way.
read?
Yeah.
Really?
I was loving it. Dan Brown books.
Did you find yourself on that trip?
No. I all I found was a lot of food
Did you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
and a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
back to Australia.
Back to Australia. So I actually didn't tell anyone I was coming home. So I
Oh.
just rocked up, and my mum goes, "James, is everything okay?" She freaked out.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm back home." Surprised my friends on that night as well, because coincidentally one of them, my best mate Brendan, who Nick, was having a barbecue, and it was actually a
You just
barbecue.
rocked up home?
I just rocked up. Everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
And
Wow.
no one
Yeah.
knew. Your parents didn't
one
know
knew.
either.
No.
Are you kidding?
Mate,
Nah.
that is blowing my mind. So you've literally gone, you bought a one-way ticket,
Yep.
you stayed in London, didn't like it, so you fucking just, travelled around,
Yeah.
did your thing, and then you just rocked up whenever the fuck you felt like it.
Exactly. I did me.
Mate, I am in awe of that. I've never done that before.
Look, and like I said, like that between, having a full-time, between uni and having the full-time career that I wanted, I was like, this is the only or the best opportunity I'm going to have at this. So I may as well grab it by the balls, literally,
Yeah.
and ran with it. So
Wow.
I had the best time.
So what sort of country, which countries did you visit?
So I started, funny enough, I actually met up with another Pius boy who you may know, Tim Vandergoot.
Oh, I know Tim, yeah.
Yep. So Tim is a professional cricketer.
I had him bowl at me a few times.
Yeah.
It was not a good experience.
Nah, he's a big boy. He's a Dutch boy.
At the
I
age of
feel
14,
like I know that name.
Yeah.
at the age of 14, they were rockets.
Oh,
They
he's
were
a very
120
talented
k's an
cricketer.
hour at 14.
That's fast. Yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah, he's a very talented cricketer. He actually plays in the Dutch national cricket team.
Oh, wow.
So, I met him in Amsterdam, and he goes, "Why don't you just stay with me?" And stayed there for a
Hectic.
couple of weeks, and which was good. I think when you are with the locals or with people who know locals, you get the best part of the city, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
You get the
for
best
sure.
food, you get the places to drink, you get the best company, most genuine company.
Yeah.
Like, I loved London. I loved Amsterdam. Hated London. Sorry.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
was
yeah.
your favourite city?
Yeah.
What was your favourite city in Europe when you were travelling?
Oh, look.
Good question. I love that.
I met up with family in Cyprus because I'm Greek Cypriot, so that's always unforgettable. But then I did something. So my grandfather used to live in the north of Cyprus, and which was the part of Cyprus that was invaded by Turkey. So he got kicked out of his home. So he doesn't think very highly of the Turkish. And I went to Cyprus, and my next stop was going to be Turkey. And I couldn't tell him I was going to Turkey.
Oh, really?
But my uncle, who's very
shit.
understanding, is I told him, and he just constantly
What,
make
just 'cause
jokes.
they hate
Yeah.
the Turks?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
No, there's just a lot of history there.
There's
That's,
a,
Yeah.
there's
no one
a
hates
lot of
anyone.
history.
Yeah, of course.
And then so I
It sounds like
I
a
did-
Greek lesson, like family lesson that you learn.
What's that?
You don't hate the Turks, you tolerate everyone, but...
Oh no, that's not the lesson I got, mate. That's not the lesson I got. That's my life lesson coming out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
No.
my father's version, that's for sure.
I decided to do a sail Turkey instead of sail Croatia because everyone does sail Croatia.
Yes, I've
and
heard
I think
such good things
that
about
was
this.
probably the best experience that I've
Yeah.
had. I did paragliding in Turkey off this place called the Blue Lagoon, which is one of the most photographed aerial shots in the world.
Yeah, sweet.
And it was incredible. You get to swim with turtles and stuff like that. Like,
So,
just a great
what did you
experience.
paraglide? You paraglided through there, yeah?
Yeah.
So, what does that mean?
So
You-
literally, you're with you've got your boss man behind you that knows everything because I
the
had
guy
no
that's
idea.
mounting you?
Yep, literally.
Yeah.
And then you've got the parachute on and it's open and you just start running down a steep hill and then it just lifts you up and then you're literally parachuting down
Could
and
not
doing
pay me.
circles and
Mate, I would
Could not
love
pay me.
this.
Oh, no way.
incredible. And then he'd be like, okay, we're going to do...
It's like something out of a video game.
Yeah, we're going to do this move called, I don't know, something like a tornado where you're like literally almost on your side and you're going around in circles.
Holy shit.
So you get some pretty hectic G-force in that as well. Like, it was incredible. Best views and...
Crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds like something unforgettable.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
And beautiful. You meet so many people along the way on those sort of trips as well, and
Sail Turkey would have been pretty cool.
very cool.
Because I know the beach, like I know the coastline is actually really
it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah. You think of Turkey as Middle East,
No.
but really it's like really on the cusp of Middle East and Europe.
Yeah. Fethiye is, which is like coastal beach. All the coast there is incredible. The water is undescribable.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Insane.
Unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Turkey would be. That's definitely on my list as well. Maybe not anytime soon, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah,
One day.
Yeah, my parents were born in Rhodes, which literally you can see Turkey from the coastline.
I thought Rhodes was Turkish.
No, that's Cyprus, buddy. Yeah.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty bloody close, which is why a lot of people mistake me for a Middle Eastern sort of
Oh, yeah.
background, because like it's very close. But a lot of Greeks are actually quite fair. They actually look a lot like you, Jacko. A lot of Greeks are like
Well,
look like you.
yeah, Tara's got like, well, my wife is Greek, and some of her relatives have like red hair. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Especially in the north of Greece as you go up into mainland towards mainland Europe.
yeah.
They get fairer and fairer as you go north. I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
You two missed out.
I missed out. Yeah, that's okay.
all right.
No, well, this guy, you haven't got Greek. You've got a bit more of a mix, haven't you?
Well, it's like I've got Greek Cypriot on mum's side, and then dad's side is a funny mix. My grandfather is Bulgarian, and then my grandmother's Scottish, and they met on the boat out here.
There you
So,
go.
Yeah.
And they actually, my last name should be Dimitroff, double V, but they
really?
misspelt it on the
Double V.
double V. Yeah, they
That's-
misspelt it, so it's double F now.
Dimitroff.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's why everyone's like, there are a lot of people who actually pick up that it's Bulgarian.
Oh,
They're
wow.
like, oh, Bulgarian. I
Dimitroff.
was like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Bit
I
of
like
a-
to
bit
think
of a
I'm
mix.
related to he's actually there's a famous tennis player, Dimitroff.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I think I'm related
There's
to
a
him.
famous weightlifter,
Yeah.
Dimitroff, as well. Yeah.
There
Yeah,
was.
right. Well, you're pretty.
I must
you're
be
pretty
related
famous.
to him then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dimitri
clearly.
Dimitroff.
You got his strength.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the power in the leg drive.
So when you got back from Europe, then what was the story then?
So the story was I needed money to work because I'd spent a lot of money. So I went
what
back to
happens.
the bar that I worked in because it was easy, it was comfortable, and I really enjoyed.
Where
and
were
I
ya?
still do
Ryan's
enjoy.
Bar.
Yeah, Ryan's
Hey.
Bar. I love hospitality work.
Friday, 5
Really enjoyed
p.m.
it. That's it.
That's where it was at.
Oh, it's a busy Friday.
Yeah.
Mate, Fridays in summer, that's $100,000 night for Ryan's Bar.
Jesus.
Really?
Yeah.
You would have been a great bartender too. You
I
would have
love
just
it. I
chewed
got
everyone's
good
ear
band-
off.
I got
Yeah.
good banter on
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah,
For sure.
yeah. Were you single as a bartender?
Yeah.
That would have been.
To tell you the truth, I've only had like a couple relationships, and the last one was the final one, which is my wife.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, Christy's definitely a fine.
Oh yeah,
She's
definitely.
a find.
She's a 10 out of 10. I'm punching well above my weight.
Oh, well done.
I think everyone knows that too.
Well, I mean, yeah, thanks for saving us for the sentence.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I would have thought sour turkey would have been an interesting single person's experience.
No, I was pretty behaved on my trip, to tell you the truth,
Oh, yeah.
because it was
Stories are you trying to get out of this podcast,
Yeah,
Nico?
I know, jeez.
Mate, I'm trying to. Yeah,
It wasn't
keep
the only
going.
place I went, because I also did Paris. I also did Belgium. I did Brussels in Belgium.
Oh wow.
I went down to Barcelona.
Yeah.
You got to say it right, don't you? Barcelona, like a lisp. Barcelona.
Barcelona.
And then I did. I did. Oh shit! I actually forgot. It's a bar. I did Mallorca. I was like, what's the island called? Which is off Spain.
Wow.
Which is above Ibiza. That too is another highlight.
Did you go to
for me.
Ibiza?
No, I've done it on a previous trip.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, that wasn't a huge party trip for me. That was more like, I love
Sightseeing.
food that much. I literally
It was
made
a food trip.
It was a food and coffee trip. Everywhere I
God.
went, I would literally,
That's pretty
as soon
cool.
as I get there, I'd get a SIM card of the country, and I'd look up, the 10 best restaurants there and the 10 best cafes.
Yeah, right.
And I'd be like, cool, I've got to hit these.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you come back a pretty big boy after that?
Oh yeah.
Hey,
I'm still recovering,
I
guys.
love it. Well, I suppose to bring it back and to start talking about a little bit more about, what you do here at Balance
Yeah.
and what you love about it.
Obviously I'm a chiropractor here at Balance. I love being a chiropractor because I'm able to help people in my own way. There's so many different ways people can help each other, and there's so many professions out there that people get to help people. But I love being a chiropractor, and especially at this company, because I get to be myself. I get to be authentic. Like you guys know, I'm a bit of a larrikin. I like to have fun. I'm professional when I need to be professional. But I can be myself here, which is why I love it here. I don't have to hide anything really, which
Yeah.
is the best part.
Love
I
it.
think that's a good point. Like, yeah, obviously, like you'd love to have a laugh, and that's what everyone knows about you. But you do know when to turn it on, and
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
I think, and that's what, to tell you the truth, before hospitality, I was a very shy individual. Very
Really?
shy.
What?
I would call myself an introvert before then. Nick's looking at me like,
kidding?
bullshit.
No.
Yeah, I was a shy introvert.
Did you knew Dimo before he was in?
He would have
Hospo?
seen me around
I
uni.
I
But not
knew
well.
from
School,
school
sorry.
and uni but I actually, when I saw Dimo at uni, I was like, oh, I think that guy went to school. But it's just like high schools.
Yeah.
It's very hard to sort of get to know people. You often know the year above you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's harder to know like 2-3 years below you.
yeah.
But I recognized Dimo.
Yeah, right.
But I never thought that you were introverted.
Yeah, like
Or
before,
maybe heaps shy, but
like my parents, when I was younger, used to ask me to ask for the bill when I was like 10, 12, 13, and I used to hate just even asking for a bill when we were at a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, I would be like, no, don't want to do it. That's the biggest blessing in
Mate, you
disguise.
are anything but shy now.
Yeah.
know. The
So
biggest
what do you think
blessing-
it was about Hospo that brought it out in you?
I think you're forced to talk to people.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way about it. You're forced to talk to people.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of people that come and go in terms of the employees in hospitality. So there's a diverse bunch that come and go through it. And that is the biggest blessing for me to come out of my shell. And
Yeah.
even my parents will admit that the hospitality, working in Ryan's Bar, let me come out of my shell.
I think that's what made you a chiropractor.
Definitely. They definitely shaped who I am now, like without
Because-
a doubt.
Dude, like I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I'm struggling to imagine you shy.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You're anything but shy.
I think I take it to the extreme at times.
Yeah.
I can be quite almost embarrassing for my wife, especially when we go out, and I
you
think
go.
she's
Really?
yeah.
Are you embarrassing? Nah.
At times.
What do you do?
Well, I don't know. Ask her that. She gets embarrassed.
Do you ever get moments like anymore where you feel like you're that same person again?
No,
Or?
I think it's just because you got to look at like even when say if you're starting a new job or something, you got to look at it as the opportunity. That's the opportunity given to you, rather than like, oh shit, like I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know this. No, it's the opportunity to learn this, learn that. So I think
love
it's
that.
probably just how I look at things now is
Yeah.
slightly different. Definitely,
So how did hospitality help you as a chiropractor?
Talk to people, getting to know people for sure. So being able to chat to people, getting on the same page. It's easy because I'm a foodie as well. Mate, there's so many people that love food out there. Everyone that's, I'm telling you now, everyone that's on like a diet or calorie counting or whatever, they love food. That's why they're on calorie counting.
That's really, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I think that's just, I found, hospitality, it made it easier for me to find ways to get to know people.
Yeah.
So there's so many different avenues. There's sport, there's food.
How important do you think that is as a chiropractor?
Extremely.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing you can do is not talk to someone and just have them in the room and then in and out. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no personality behind that. What's the incentive for that person to keep coming back to you, or to, refer your name, or say your blessings to someone?
It's funny how, like, once they've gotten to know you a little bit better, and once they've gotten to know you as a chiropractor a bit better, it's almost as if it's a license for them to actually tell you more about what's going on.
Yeah. Sometimes, like, I'm not saying I'm a psychologist, but people open up quite a lot once they get to know you and you get to know them. Very much so.
And part of that is sharing your own story, right?
Definitely.
We're about to do that, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We certainly are.
Because so I want to hear more about, like, what is it that really, like, what do you love about being a chiropractor?
What I love about being a chiropractor, one, it's not just the fact that I can be myself, because that's where you work. It's the fact that I get to help people. Okay. I get to, again, I can use the skills, and the reason why I loved hospitality, which is talking, getting to know people. I've always adopted the sense, because I have a sporting background, is just one of the reasons why I wanted to work here is I want to learn more about my rehab, and I just want to learn more professional development. And a lot of places I was actually, when I had the job before this, I was promised a lot of things in terms of professional development, and it never came. So I was looking for a job that would actually, go through with their promises. So I think what I do as a chiropractor, I can help people, but they also help me as well, a lot. So I love the fact that I get to talk to people. That's helping me.
Wow.
In what way does it help you? I'm curious on that.
I think it's not the fact that you're telling them anything that's secretive.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. I think it's the fact that I just love talking to people so much.
Yeah.
That fills
I
your
need
cup
to
up.
be in, exactly. It gives me energy to do so.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it gives me more energy when I'm able to do that.
Makes sense. As someone who is obviously extroverted, like you get energy from social interaction and talking to people, and you have a job where you can do that all day and meet lots of new people, and same with hospo. So
yeah, definitely.
makes sense.
And I think when it comes to so really, is it, so you like combining the sport, you like combining a very sort of talkative environment.
Yep.
Is there anything in particular with regards to the specific diagnosis, is it the detail side of chiropractic that drives you, or is it more the relationships?
I think, yeah, it is definitely the relationships. I love being on the side of, being able to diagnose someone, or like being specific with, say, an adjustment.
Yes.
Like that also gives me a bit of fulfillment. It's like, I targeted something, and I felt like I was able to achieve that. But I think it's more so the personal, like, relationships you build out of it, and the people you surround yourself with, is why I love chiropractic. For sure.
Awesome.
And that is beautiful. And I think if you asked 10 different people, because obviously, like, if there's anything that I hear more often in interviews, it's, well, why did you want to become a chiropractor? Oh, it's because I want to help people.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, what is it exactly that helping
like
people does? What is it exactly that it does for you? And for you, it fills up your cup.
My cup.
Yeah, especially the relationship side of it. For me, it's the problem-solving side of it.
Yeah.
I love solving problems.
Yeah, for me, I'd probably say the same as well.
Yeah, right.
Problem solving and like still being able to work in sport as well, I think.
Yeah.
For me.
And that's the difference, because a lot of your patients, and you've been off for
14 months now.
For 14 months.
It's a long time.
And we're about to get into this. For 14 months you've been off, and there are legit people that have refused to see anyone else but you for the entire time. And it's got less to do with the problem solving and more to do with the relationship that they have with you, that they simply can't have with me or Jack or Joe Blow, because you've got this unique capability to be able to connect and be on the same page with someone and help them work through a problem. You get to the problem solving through the relationship, not the other way around.
Yep.
Which is, for me, a freaking gold star, unique, special trait. So that I want to recognize. But I think what everyone's dying to hear, especially those that know you, is where the fuck have you been?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think it's been like kept in the dark of where I've been. It's just, James is just working on his health. And I think, and I actually want to bring this up, is that I think Balance and yourself, Nick, held that really well. That I didn't have people prying, because people have my number, they have me on social media. There are so many ways that they have access to me, and they let me be and let me alone. And that was my time for recovery. So on the 29th of October 2019, which is 10 days before my wedding, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, right down low, like towards the rectum. And it was found because of, I think I've been having energy, lapses of energy and tummy problems.
Yeah, let's talk 12 months before.
Yeah, I would even say longer.
Yeah.
I would say 18 to 24 months before. I was just having periods where I'd have energy, and then all of a sudden I would crash for like 6 weeks. So I worked with a naturopath. I
thought it was just because I was working too hard. I thought I was being hard on this poor bastard. He's fucking falling apart.
Cracking the whip there.
I was like, shit, man.
Yeah, no.
Might have been a bit of that.
It may be a little
100%.
bit of that. Yeah, so we were trying to find out, what's my rhyme and rhythm, and, why do I keep having these lapses? And we tried quite a few different things, kept happening, and then from the 12-month mark, I probably had a lot of tummy issues that kept coming up, and I kept having to take, a day or two off because of the tummy, and it wasn't becoming normal, and I wasn't getting better, I think was the main thing. And whatever we did would help at times, but it would never fix it. And then I reached a point where I started to have blood in my stool. And I was training quite hard at the time, and I just thought it was a hemorrhoid. And I actually went to a colorectal surgeon, and he diagnosed me with a hemorrhoid. So I was like, okay. He gave me a couple of tips to try and help it out. And
not just the tip of his finger.
Well, that too. I wouldn't say it was the tip. I'd say a couple of knuckles deep. But anyways.
Oh, shit.
Look, we went there. So
that's all right. Did he use a second finger?
No.
For a second opinion?
That's the Mills joke. Yeah.
No, so I reached a point where it wasn't getting better, and I actually had a conversation with you, Nick, on a Monday, because you had talked to Jin.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Jin is a doctor.
He's a sports doctor that we have a close relationship with.
Not a gin and tonic.
No. Although they are good.
Yeah. Together. Gin and gin.
So you obviously said you probably need to delve into this a little bit further. So one day I was like, screw this, I'm going to hospital. It's not getting better. I went to hospital, and actually the funny thing was they couldn't do all the tests on me because my bloods, everything, I was too healthy. They considered me too healthy. I couldn't get transferred. I was at the SAN in Wahroonga.
Yeah.
I couldn't get transferred to Royal North Shore because Royal North Shore wouldn't accept me because all my bloods, everything was fine. Right. So, and this is testing time of okay, I'm getting married in a couple of weeks. I've got to get on top of this, because I've got a future with my wife and what have you. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I need to go somewhere else and get a second opinion.
Yeah.
So I met a lovely man named Dr. Charles McDonald, who is a gastroenterologist, and he understands my predicament of, getting married, want to know what's going on. And at that time I was thinking I've probably got ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Yeah. So he did a scope and then goes, I'll see you on Tuesday on my day off. And I'm like, oh wow, what an absolute legend. He's going to see me on his day off. Yeah. What a naive motherfucker I was.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So
that's code for escalation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then that was the 29th when I was diagnosed, and that's when the proceedings began of before I got married, I had to go and do sperm banking because obviously the treatment I was going to go through was going to be pretty rigorous, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to be able to have kids after. So yeah, I got married on the 9th of November to my beautiful wife, and I was thinking, it's funny because at that point you're in a little bit of limbo because you go for your CT, you do your bloods, which are looking for tumor markers, and then you do your CT scan, and you want to know how bad it is.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a freak out period
of
like, holy shit, don't know what's happening. You start to think the worst, like, does my future wife even want to marry me? Why am I going to put her through this and that's when you have to start having conversations about if you pass away.
Fuck.
And you have to sign a lot of paperwork that says in the event of your death, that my wife has access to my sperm for the next so-and-so years. So it's really full-on conversations you've got to have, but it was really weird.
That is actually something I have not even thought about.
Yeah.
You would have had to face the simple fact that you may die.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to accept that fact pretty quickly because in my mind, what are the 5 stages of grief again? They're 5?
You've got
denial,
anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Cool. I had to go straight to acceptance because I was like, right now, I've only got one option.
You can't actually go through your natural process.
No, not at all. There was no time. And 2, for me, it wasn't, I know it was a possibility, but it wasn't the option. I was like, cool, what's the plan of attack? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it?
To go through that, yeah.
In my mind, it's like, and this is no attack on anyone that goes through anything, but why would I piss and moan about something that I cannot change? It's happening nonetheless. You've got to go through it. You may as well fucking accept it and go through it.
Yeah.
That's the only way to attack it. In my mind, I was like, that's the only way to attack it, and that's how I'm going to do it.
Right.
So, got married to my beautiful wife on the 9th of November, and then 3 days later, I started my treatment.
And in the meantime, had a conversation about what you would do if you weren't here anymore.
Yep.
That would have been a very tough time for both of you and your families.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was weird because I remember the day of diagnosis and I was like, I need to just had a glass of wine, and I actually did puzzles because it just helped distract me a little bit. And then
this is before or
this
after?
is just on the day of diagnosis.
On the day, yeah.
And then I told the people that I need to tell. Once I told my mother-in-law and father-in-law, I just go, are you guys okay? And for some, I don't actually remember that, but my mother-in-law always brings it up. She goes, you kept asking everyone else if they're okay.
Yeah.
But no one ever asked, everyone asked you if you're okay, but you were so concerned about everyone else. It's strange, you're more concerned about how other people are going to take it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are absolutely shocked and devastated, and you've not only got to show brave face, but you've got to be ready for battle because that's what's happening. It's coming whether you like it or not. You've got to battle.
If we can, do you mind if we go to the day of the diagnosis and that? So it was a Tuesday, you said.
Tuesday, 29th
and
of
colonoscopy
October.
was the week before.
Yep.
What was that day like? And if you don't mind sharing, when you went into the doctor's office, what were the words he said, or what was the conversation initially?
So the conversation was, he actually found it really hard to look at me because he started to tear up. Because at my age, and for people who don't know it, the type of cancer and colorectal cancer is not supposedly common at someone who's 29 years old.
Yeah.
It's someone that they find in 60 and above, and when found early enough, it is treatable, but you don't know how early or how late it is at that stage. So I can't remember the exact words he was saying, but he never used the word cancer.
Right.
Because there's such a negative connotation, and I didn't want to use the word cancer to start with because for me cancer was like saying it's the end.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people are diagnosed with cancer every single day, and as soon as you hear that word, you immediately think that they're going to die.
It's definitely renowned as a death sentence, isn't it?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
So he was really good in the sense that it was a tumor. He's like, we found a tumor. It's at the lowest part of the bowel. We can't see how big it is, where it's spread to, but we had to start talking about and being realistic about the options of what was going to happen. So he kind of planned it out for me a little bit then. He also was going to get in touch with the surgeon that misdiagnosed it, and literally at that point, it's this is what's really good about Australian healthcare system. Everything's planned out for you. So you have a support nurse at the hospital, and she makes all your appointments for you. It just takes that level of stress out of it. And but that day of diagnosis, that's a heavy one. But I think it was more heavy for my wife. It was like really hard. It's like a tough conversation because she's like, why is this happening to us?
When you went in, did you know you had cancer in your heart?
In my heart, I knew something was up.
Yeah.
You just know when something's not right with your body.
Yeah.
Like realistically, you just got this deep down feeling that something's not right. I don't know if I was going to say, yes, I knew I had cancer,
No.
but you knew something was up.
Yeah.
You were prepared to take that news, though.
Yeah,
I'm sure you threw that around in your head.
Yeah, definitely. It's it was definitely a strange day because once you're diagnosed, you almost have like an out-of-body experience. It's like you drive home. It sounds really dangerous. You drive home. You know when you drive somewhere and you're like, how the freaking hell did I get here? Like you don't really remember the drive. It was like that all day.
Right.
And a pretty sleepless or rough night. Just thinking like, I think you just remind yourself, it's like, holy crap, I've got cancer. I have a tumor. I've got cancer. I have a tumor. So, and again, that's when that moment of being in limbo starts, which I think is the worst thing out of the whole experience is not knowing.
Yes.
When you're so unsure of how bad it is, how big it is, it is so unnerving not knowing what's next. So that's when the hospital books the CT scan for me.
So they basically set up a full plan for you.
Yeah. So they firstly find out what it is, how bad it is. So it was a 10 centimetre tumour within my bowel that had spread to some of the lymph nodes around it. So the reason they had to start treatment quick was because it had spread to the lymph nodes, because that's how it spreads through the body. So they were like, we have to start treatment pretty like ASAP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But once you got your oncologist there, he introduces you to the radio oncologist, because it was always kind of decided that I was going to do chemo, radiation, surgery, and then chemo again just in case. They kind of plan it out, and I think the lucky thing for me was they have once a month or once every couple of weeks, they have a night where they have surgeons, they have radio oncologists, and they have oncologists that all meet up and discuss cases. They're either complex cases or young cases. So I was one of those cases. So I felt like I had a lot of hands on my case, and a lot of people looking after me and have the best interest of me in mind, obviously. So I felt well looked after for that process. Which
would give you some... I know obviously peace of mind is going to be very hard to come across at that stage when you've got all that news, but I guess having that plan would give you, a lot of peace of mind that you're in the best hands and everything's being done. So
there's definitely a component of there's a cultural component of like the way people think as a collective. It's called uncertainty avoidance. And generally people avoid the thing, and that's how people deal with ambiguous new environments, and that is the more they learn about the situation, the more at peace they feel with it. And really your level of avoidance this is where people bury their heads in the sand.
Yep.
Because when people see things like blood in their stool, it's very easy to bury your head in this. It's easier to ignore it because you're avoidant of uncertainty. Some people are very open and accepting of uncertainty, and they're the ones that go to the doctor straight away and just be like, hey, something's wrong here. Hey, come on, sort it out.
Yeah.
But the uncertainty avoidant ones, which tend to be Mediterranean, well, I'm not going to stereotype that, but it depends person to person. But how long did you feel like you buried your head in the sand?
I would say probably a couple months at least.
Okay.
From when I started to notice it.
Yeah,
I think it wasn't too long, but you're right. I think it's like the Greek mentality of like, oh, it'll be right. Just give it a bit of time. We'll just see how it goes. Cigar.
Yeah.
Cigar. But
slowly.
I think then you have the logical brain. So for me, even through my whole process, it's like, what's my emotional brain doing? What's my emotional brain doing? And try and separate the two. I had to act very logical about things.
Right.
Because it is what it is. And I guess I'll say that a lot, and I say it all the time. It is what it is. Like you can't change that situation.
Yeah.
And being emotional about it not only puts stress on you, it puts stress on everyone else. I didn't want to put any extra stress on my wife, especially because like we were gearing up to go through hell.
Yeah.
I even said to the oncologist, I go, I'm young, I'm fit. I go, nuke me. I go, I'll take it. I can take it. Whatever you give me, I'll take it.
All of the cells gone.
Mate, I was ready for war.
Interesting. Like the things I've picked up so far is, it sounds like your initial thoughts were you were worried about your family and you were worried about Christy more than you were worried about yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And you were very logical in the beginning about, okay, this is what it is, and now we need a plan for how we're going to get through this as well, which is which it goes to show selflessness as well, but also like you just being logical about this whole thing and being like, okay, like I'm young, I'm fit, let's figure out how to get on top of this thing. So
like, to be honest, I like I'm actually pretty like, when the first time you told me, usually up front, it's just the way I'm built is I'm like you, I go straight, put the armor on, right, how are we going to fucking deal with this?
Yeah.
And that problem solving mode is very much where that came out. So when you first told me, I was not surprised. I was like, okay. I don't even remember that conversation, by the way.
Yeah. I called you literally on the way home from the doctor's office, I remember.
Because it was that was a very much, we were in each other's pockets for a while there.
Yeah.
Just being like, all right, what the fuck is going on with your health?
Yeah.
Because I think you had so many, like a lot of days off.
Yeah.
Off work, I'm not well. Oh, mate, you're not coming back to work. Go fucking get your shit sorted.
Yeah.
Literally,
yeah.
And sometimes you need that, right? But yeah, we were in each other's pockets, so literally just as problem solving, I felt like we were sort of on the same wavelength throughout that time. But just listening to you recounting, I can't help but be rocked actually by just the fact that you're more concerned, and this is just where your relationship driven approach is to healthcare, is you are more concerned about the other person in the relationship than you were even about what was going on with you. Like, you've already gone straight to the acceptance phase. Now, I don't know if that's psychologically possible.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if that's psychologically possible. It might be, but maybe perhaps the denial, anger, bargaining came out in different ways, and maybe you used that problem solving as a mask to hide some of that shit so that you can get through it, and maybe you don't have to be grieving about anything, actually.
I think, and it's funny because you use external, influences to mask or to influence how you feel. So I remember on the very first day of treatment, I'm like, let's get some fucking Drake, some Warrior music on. I need something to pump me up.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, this is happening. Let's fucking do it.
Wow. This is,
So, like, if moving on from, I guess, the diagnosis, could you give us a bit of a rundown of what the treatment was? So, what was actually involved?
Yeah. So, the initial phase of treatment was chemotherapy, and we split my chemo up. So, I'm not sure why, but there's like this magic number of 12 chemotherapy sessions before they either, rescan or what have you. So, initially it was, I'm going to do 4 sessions of chemo, and then we're going to scan to see where we're at. So,
CT?
It'll be a CT. PET scan.
A PET.
And MRI. PET and MRI.
Can you explain
PET
what a
scan
PET is?
It's a scan where you actually ingest and they inject radioactive dye within you. So technically, on those days, I'd call myself Hulk because I've got radioactive shit in me.
Radioactive,
again,
man.
Just literally, again, just probably my way of dealing with things is to make light of this situation because that's just how I wanted to deal with it. And that helped me. And I know that helped my wife as well. And it helped people around me. They inject you and you ingest radioactive dye. You can't do any physical activity the day before because they don't want too many cells to be like lit up when you go through. And then it's a 20-minute scan. And then the MRI is just a 20-minute scan where you don't need any prep or anything for that. So the PET is a scan that shows where the cancer is and how much of the cancer there is. And then on top of that is a CT where they do like a radioactive CT, which is the gold standard So that actually goes through your whole body. And as weird as it is, this is going to sound a bit funny. I don't know if I've told you guys this. When I had the CT, you get like a hot flush go through your body when they inject it in, and it went straight to my ass.
Did it?
Yeah. So I was like, and maybe it's psychological, but to me, it was telling me that it's just located in your ass. So I was like, Christy, it went straight to my ass and stayed there, and I reckon that's where it is, and it's not spread.
Mate, if honestly, scientifically, in your head, whatever it is, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
If I was in your position, I would be hanging on to anything that gives me meaning.
Yeah, definitely.
Hanging on to anything.
Definitely.
And I think anything that takes away hope with anyone going through any sort of treatment like that, once you've lost hope, that's
the end. Hey?
It's fucked. Yeah.
Stop fighting.
Yeah. So for me, it's like whatever gives me hope, whatever gives me fight is what I need. And at times that would be laughter. Or that would be making light of the situation.
Well, I think I don't know anyone. You probably find a way to laugh every day.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll find a way.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is right either, but I feel like, having spoken to you a lot about your cancer throughout the last year, I actually feel like you like talking about it as well, though.
Yeah, I think it kind of helps me talking about it, and I don't mind talking about it as well, because I guess it just helps me psychologically. Maybe that's my way of dealing with it.
Sure.
It's catharsis. That's what they call that.
Yeah.
It's cathartic.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's cleansing to talk about it.
Yeah, it takes the weight off the shoulders.
Greek word for kathariso, meaning cleaning.
So yeah, I had 1 month of I had 2 months of treatment, which was chemo. So it's 4 sessions of chemo. I have 1 session every 2 weeks, and being the naive person I was, I thought all chemo was the same, but there's so many different types of chemo drugs out there to target different types of cancers.
Is there?
Yeah, so I had 3 chemos. So I would have, on the day, I'd have a 2-hour infusion into what's called a portacath, which is located above
You've still got that, yeah?
Yep, it's in my chest, which is just above my heart.
Right.
And that's just so they don't give you like track marks and stuff when you have lots of needles.
Sure.
Which you did have.
Yep. Yeah, all the blood tests, man. I'd have blood tests every second
How many
week.
blood tests you reckon you've had?
20 to 25.
Wow.
And I'll tell you
In a
why I
year.
had more blood tests, because so with the 3 chemos, I'd have one which is a 2-hour infusion. I'd have one which they'd inject really quickly, and then I'd actually have a take-home pack. So I'd have a pack attached to my heart basically for 2 days, and I just walk around in a bum bag just with my little chemo pack.
Oh wow.
The first time I had chemo...
Pretending like you're going... Were you wearing Nike TNs at the same time?
Yeah, pretty much. Eshay.
Chemo
Team Chemo Eshay.
Yeah.
So,
Chemo Eshay.
you know, I'd like to say... so in my head, I think I had an expectation of what chemo was. And for me, I don't know if you guys have seen Creed, the movie Creed. I
Yes.
love movies, by the way. Everyone love movies.
No, I have not.
So in the movie Creed, Sylvester Stallone.
I've seen Creed. Yeah.
He gets cancer, and you know he's spending every second day with his head in the toilet bowl, loses his hair, this and that, and the technology now and the anti-nausea drugs they give you now are insane. They're so good. So you know, I had nausea at times, but I didn't ever vomit. I dry wrenched a couple times, but nothing ever came up. The first time I had chemo, I had a slight reaction where I dry wrenched and I had to go to the toilet, and then I was like sweating, and I was like, oh shit. Like if people who don't know, if you get any sort of fevers, chills, it's a medical emergency when you're on chemo, because they're worried that you might have an infection, and when you're immunosuppressed, you can't fight the infection. So there's a higher probability to die from infection. Yeah.
Holy shit.
You really have to look after your health.
Of what? Reacting to the drug?
No, just an infection in general.
In general, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I did have reactions to chemo, which they found a little strange. This whole process, I probably wasn't right with everything I did.
Yeah.
Because I actually was hospitalized 3 times because of the chemo that I was having. And that was because I would... it's like my body, I don't know, would like kind of fight it a little bit. So I'd have a fever, and I'd be like, okay, Chrissy, we've got to go to I've got literally a 39-degree temperature. We've got to go to hospital, and you get this little card. that says that you're on chemo, 39 degree. If you're above like 37.5 or 38, it's a medical emergency, and you literally show that at the front desk and they whisk you right in.
Really?
Yep, and
Wow.
they do blood cultures, they do blood tests, they're finding out if you do have an infection. So of the 3 times, I didn't actually have an infection. It was just my way of reacting to the chemo.
To the chemo.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Because it's essentially poison you're injecting.
literally. And the thing with the chemo is it's not targeted to just the cancer.
It kills normal
It's
cells.
all cells. So that
Yeah.
first 2 months or the first 4 sessions was pretty tough.
Yeah.
But then, I had the scan at the end of that session, and it showed that the lymph nodes, which was the highest probability of it spreading, weren't lit up anymore. So it had killed the cancer in the lymph nodes and actually shrunk the cancer a bit. So I was
Wow.
like,
So
in
you
my
got
head,
this
it's
just
working.
in time.
Oh, yeah, big time. So I was like, oh shit, it's working. Let's keep going. Keep
Wow.
nuking
Nuke me. Yeah.
Nuke me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the next step after that?
Next step was, so you got to have a few weeks break, and then I had 25 sessions of radiation. While you have radiation, so I did 5 weeks of Monday to Friday, 1 session a day. And on those days, you also got to take chemo drugs.
Right.
And what the chemo drugs do, or what my understanding was of it was, the chemo actually helps expose the nucleus of the tumor cells.
Right.
And then it's all cells, but the radiation is like 3D and targeted at just the tumor. So the cells are exposed, and then radiation helps kill the cells.
So what, like, basically just destructures. What's the fucking wrong word?
Zaps it. Just say zap.
Zaps the fucking
it up.
Zap.
DNA helix. Does it
Yeah. It just, I don't know, it just absolutely fries it.
Yeah,
so,
right.
the worst thing about radiation, it was never as bad.
The nucleus is where the DNA is held. So
Yeah.
there's got to be, like, they've got to break that somehow.
Because all tumours are just mutated different cells.
Yeah.
That's all they are. So,
Fuckers.
yeah.
And the only thing that's wrong with cancer is the fact that it just makes everything function incorrectly.
Yes, exactly.
It's
And
not that the cancer itself kills you, it's the lack of function of what it affects.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's why, having the bowel affected, not too bad, but having everything above the bowel, say liver, pancreas,
Yeah.
lungs, like these vital organs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're affected is when you're in trouble.
Right. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
So yeah,
Because the bowel, there's not much reabsorption happening at the bowel, is there?
the only thing it really absorbs is water, isn't it? The large bowel.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I think it's like maybe all of your absorption all the digestion has already occurred.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, and what I know of it, because of what I had happen later, it was mainly for water absorption, because once I had surgery, my small bowel had to act as the water absorbent. So I was actually
Yeah.
going to the toilet, especially for the first little bit after I had surgery, going to the toilet a lot because I wasn't absorbing as much water.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I had my radiation, and what I didn't know about radiation, the worst thing about radiation was probably that it's just that low level nausea you have. It's
Yeah.
not like you're going to be sick, or you just feel sick. But in saying that, I was still like gymming and stuff like that
During
throughout,
radiation
and chemo.
and chemo.
Yeah.
So when did you have your? So what else happened? What else happened during the?
Yeah, the process.
Yeah.
So after radiation finishes, I had 10 weeks off, and that's because during that process, the radiation within your body actually ramps up, even though you've stopped the radiation process. So it keeps ramping up, so more cells will die. And then I had another set of scans then, and then I had surgery. And what the surgery involved was cutting the bowel below the tumor, so at the rectum, and then above it, and then reattaching it then and there. And then once they've done that, they
So they've taken out the cancerous segment and then
and then reattached it,
and then stretched
And
it.
so they
stretched out.
fully remove it.
fully remove it.
Right.
Yeah, reattach it at
And
the
then
time.
stretch it. Okay. To make
Yeah.
to make up the rest of the intestine.
to,
Well,
of the small
to
of the
reconnect
large.
the bowel of the
Yeah.
large bowel.
Ah.
It's like sigmoid into rectum.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So they take out that segment of bowel, reattach it at the good points, and then they pull a small part of my small bowel out, and cut a hole in it, and that's called a stoma. So all my waste product was coming through the small intestine into a stoma bag. So I had an ileostomy bag during the process, and that surgery is a pretty hectic surgery. It's usually 5.5 hours, but because my abdominal wall was so thick, it took 6.5 hours, and it was via robotics. So he used a robot.
Wow.
Which is really cool because
So it wasn't even in the room.
No. Oh no, he was in the room controlling the robot.
Operate. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought it was maybe.
I kept thinking
he'd
he'd walk
telehealth,
in like
procedure.
some Terminator like suit.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. But yeah, it was a pretty hectic surgery.
Iron Man came in.
It's called an ultra low anterior resection and ileostomy.
Right.
So that's where they literally detach the small from the large intestine at the ileocecal valve. Is that right?
They don't actually detach it. So I had a loop ileostomy.
Oh.
So essentially all they do is pull the bowel out and keep it in its loop and just cut a hole in it. So everything, the whole tract is all attached now.
Oh.
So it's a loop of the bowel that they literally loop out and cut. It's
Oh, wow.
not a whole part of the bowel and that's
Oh.
it. Yeah. So it allows for the rest of the bowel to actually heal.
Oh,
That was
shit.
the point of it.
Crazy
So-
what they can do with those
Yeah,
surgeries.
man.
hey?
Like, I
Abdominal
was looking at it
surgeons.
so robot, like so like Lego-like. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, just got it there.
Yeah,
attach
it's
it
not.
like a hose into a bag,
And we'll sew that up.
and we'll just and
Bob's
Bob's your
your
uncle.
And look, that's you go to the surgeons for their skill set, and everyone that I'd spoken to said my surgeon was like the bee's knees. He was top dog, so
Yeah.
I was going to be well looked after.
He was the shit.
Literally.
Is that the guy? That's
Had his
the guy,
hand
but
in
that's
shit
the guy.
and then was the shit.
Wait, that's the guy that misdiagnosed you.
He's actually the guy that misdiagnosed me.
Yeah,
so I
right.
think he thought probably that he had some room to make up here.
yeah.
And yeah, he absolutely bloody nailed it.
So what was the difference between old MacDonald and the surgeon that got it wrong? Charles MacDonald. Sorry.
So Charles MacDonald had a personality.
Right.
So he had skill set, but he had the personality.
Right.
Whereas my surgeon just had
In qualification, was there a difference?
yes,
Oh.
colorectal surgeon versus so Charles MacDonald was the gastroenterologist.
He was a gastroenterologist.
Yeah, and
okay.
Juzzy was the surgeon.
So it just filled you with more confidence, basically.
Yeah.
You connected with him a little bit better. Things
I
like
connected him with him, and he got to know me a little bit more.
There's that
He-
relationship
He
again.
kept following me up through
Yeah.
the whole process. Because he would get updates.
That's how they should be, mate.
Oh, he is an absolute gem. And if I could recommend anyone to go see a gastroenterologist, it'd be Dr. Charles MacDonald. Like,
Wow.
hands down,
Old
he's
MacDonald.
one of the
MacDonald.
people is why I'm still here.
Wow. Yeah,
as
well,
well.
that's right.
So,
How-
Juzzy nailed the surgery. It was a big
awesome.
surgery to have.
Just quickly as well, with the bag, how did you find that experience? You know, for the few months living with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like we were very much part of that experience
We
here
were.
at Balance Health and Performance.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We saw that bag many times.
You weren't shy with it, no.
I definitely wasn't shy. Well,
No,
I wasn't
no.
a shy introvert with it. Was
No,
I?
no.
The secret sauce.
But I'm glad that you weren't shy about it. I would hate for you to hide it and be
course.
like conscious of it or something. It's
Yeah.
kind of like,
it was a part of me at the time, wasn't
mate,
it?
that's how it is, man. Like,
And-
you're owning it.
And I think through that whole process, up until that surgery, was a pretty testing time in Australia with COVID. So I was extra aware of not going out and really looking after myself because I was going to be immune suppressed and because my body was already going through enough stress as it is.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when it came time for surgery, there was a point there where I may have had to have a permanent bag because there could have been a risk of contracting COVID depending on how long I was going to stay in ICU.
Right.
But we were lucky enough that at the time, I think Australia started to get New South Wales, started to get on top of it at a really good time. So that's a blessing for me because we were able to do the temporary ileostomy bag. And
Yeah. So if we were like Victoria, do you feel like you'd have to be permanent?
I may have had a permanent bag.
Well,
Oh, man.
Possibility, yeah. It was a big possibility that the surgeon
which is
let me know.
life-changing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
but
life-changing.
I think I think you just have to adapt.
But,
like-
no, at
Yeah,
least
like what would you
yeah.
do anyway? Like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
like you're
it's that or death.
Yeah.
I'd say,
Like-
I said it before. It's the situation you're given. You
Yeah.
just got to accept it.
100%.
And I didn't need to I've got a wife, so I didn't need to impress anyone and stuff like that. She loves me for who I am,
Mate,
and
you've got
not
some
what
brownie points on this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Love you, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, living with the bag, definitely an adjustment period to start with. And, you know, very biley to start with when your body's adjusting and your small bowel has to act as the water absorbent now because it's not getting to the large bowel. So I think for me was more so the adjustment of like how to put the bag on and, you know, how many times. I think the biggest disruption it had to me was probably at night when I'd have to empty it in the middle of the night. So the whole time I had the bag, which ended up being 6 months, was, you know, having to get up every single night 1 to 2 to 3 times a night to empty the bag, depending on how much I'd eaten, how late I had eaten, things like that. So different factors.
And you would
affecting
definitely
that.
know, like, it hasn't gone through your large intestine for you to know, like, you know, obviously once it's turned into proper feces for, you know, normally functioning gut, you can't tell what's been absorbed and what hasn't.
Yeah.
You'd know. Like, I remember seeing this
About
and like some of the shit, like
my long they used to give me, or were giving me a painkiller that's a 12-hour slow release painkiller, and I'd be like, the tablet's here already, guys. It's full. I haven't absorbed anything. So I was like pulling out the tablet in the bag.
Oh wow.
Like
hasn't
unbroken.
Unbroken.
Oh no.
Or there'd be like pieces of, like, you have to really be careful of how much fiber, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, because
I was having, because that will clog the small bowel up.
Was it almond flakes that I saw coming out at one point?
Oh, mate. Yeah, you got to be careful of nuts.
Yeah, like stuff that just literally, like, it has not been, it's unaltered.
Yeah. 100%.
I think, and there's like a bad stigma about, like, you know, ileostomy bags. Oh, they're stinky and this and that. Guys, the technology that has gone into what ileostomy bags are now and how they're applied, and it's not, doesn't smell like real poo or anything like that. Like, it's quite like, it's at the stage before it actually smells like that. But yeah, I think a massive adjustment phase and having to go through, you know, the ileostomy bag. I think the surgery itself and recovering from the surgery was a big part. That was a tough time because it was like, body was sore. I wouldn't say I was in heaps of pain, but it's, you know, I go through discomfort or I'd need to go have naps, you know, things to that sort. So that was the big adjustment period, was more so what's happening with post-surgery rather than the bag itself.
I can imagine that there have been a multiple facets of, you just had to deal with different things on different levels. So like, obviously, like, the bag had its input. Yeah. Like, if you have to wake up 1 to 2 to 3 times a night, the surgeries you've got to recover from, the chemo you've got to recover from. Did it get to, like, what was some of the, because this isn't the end of the treatment.
No, that's I'd say halfway.
Yeah, I reckon let's keep going.
Okay.
Let's keep going with the rest of the treatment here.
So after that, you know, you have to wait until your body is slightly repaired, because that's when the chemo had to start again. But I think just before the chemo, we got the biopsy back of what he took out, and luckily it was well margined, so that means the tumour was within everything he had cut out, but it was very, very close to the edge. So that's why they decided to continue with chemo, just in case, but they hadn't done a scan at that point.
What do you mean? As in, the cells were still well defined, but almost starting to sort of be not well defined?
Yes, exactly. It was so close to the edge.
Beginning stage of malignancy.
Yeah, well, it was technically already malignant because it had already spread through the bowel and hit lymph nodes. So it was really close, but they didn't do a scan then. So it's like a bit of a godsend, because you're like, oh wow, like, technically I should be cancer free, but there's no guarantee here. Right. So that's when that's when the chemo started again, and that's when I had to do twice as much as the first time. So that was 8 rounds of intense chemo, while recovering from the 6.5 hour surgery that I'd had. So you notice different things along the chemo journey. You get, you know, peripheral neuropathy, and for people who don't know that, it's, you know, pins and needles or tingling of numbness at the feet. The type of chemo I was on, I would also be extremely sensitive to water when I was on it. So if I had, you know, remotely cold water, sometimes room temp water, would feel like it's like burning me. So I'd
Jesus.
have to have like warm water. I'd have to drink warmish water. I could never have cold water.
What do you mean burning? You like ice burning?
Ice burning.
Whoa.
Yeah, like frostbite burning.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So
Legit.
Yeah, that were just a couple of the things, and then also obviously the nausea. And I reached a point then when I was like, I want to get on top of the nausea, because the nausea was getting worse, but it wasn't making me sick yet. But it's just like, it's just a crappy feeling nauseous, and feeling nauseous for like numbers of days.
Yeah.
So, that's when I had a little look into the research of, CBD oil and what is CBD oil. And I found some really cool research papers to show that illustrated that CBD oil paired with bowel cancer. So when people were having their chemotherapy and added CBD oil, it actually helped target cancer cells.
Wow.
Which is just insane.
Like, how does that even work?
And then I'm thinking, well, why the fuck aren't they, isn't this the norm now, is to take CBD oil when you're, going through chemo or what have you? And that, to tell you the truth, as soon as I took the oil, and I'd have CBD oil that had extremely low THC. So to tell you the truth, it didn't affect me in any sort of way.
Yeah. You went high every day.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. And
Although that would be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It would make it interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But so the first time I took CBD oil, I was actually feeling quite nauseous and at the point of vomiting. And literally within about 45 seconds to a minute, I was fine. I was like, whoa, what is this? So started to take it. I'd have it like once a day when I was on the chemo or had the take-home pack. And I brought it up. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. So
Yes.
I brought it up with my oncologist, and I was like, look, I don't need to tell you something. I had this. And he was like, that is awesome. That's amazing. I'm so glad you could get your hands on it, because if that helps more than the drugs, I'd rather you take that than me prescribe you other drugs.
Wow.
He was all for it. And at one point there was actually there's a trial going on at the moment with Royal North Shore and RPA and stuff. And I was going to put my hand up for the trial, but I didn't meet the eligibility criteria.
Okay. Too healthy.
Yeah, apparently.
Probably.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's really reassuring to hear that the oncologist was actually open to that. And I'd assume that people like oncologists are dealing with pain you're going to take every win you can.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
can you imagine being in an oncology ward as an oncologist? You are literally you're dealing out bad news all day.
Day in, day out.
Like, all day. And if someone tells you that something worked, you probably want to take that win.
Definitely.
So that's so CBD oil.
CBD
Nice.
oil, great. And I actually had a talk with, not every time I'd see the oncologist, I'd see his registrar.
Yep.
And Hannah, who is an absolute legend, and someone who would make you feel so reassured and actually take the time to explain things to you.
Yeah.
I dealt with her a lot, and I told her, and she goes, that's strange, because some people, she's like, that's awesome that you can take it and it has that effect. She's like, it works one of two ways, CBD oil. It's either your reaction that helps a lot of people and this and that, or there's the reaction of like, it did nothing. There's no in between. It's either like does
Worked or
nothing
didn't.
or miracle.
Wow.
So yeah, to help with the nausea
I'm really glad
was
that it
just
a miracle.
Yeah.
Shit.
To help with the nausea especially was like the reason I took it.
Yeah.
And from then it just seemed like chemo was the downhill.
This is the
part.
second round of chemo that you're on.
Yeah. So this was 8 rounds of chemo, which is 4 months. So obviously at that time I started to notice that my skin became a little bit more sensitive. So I'd scratch a little bit easier, and it's still quite sensitive in that fact as well.
Really?
Yeah, because the amount of time that I was on chemo, it takes time for your body to recover completely from all the side effects.
Yeah.
But in saying that, being on the ward where they administer your chemo, there are worse off people. I'm like, fuck, if that's all I got to deal with, then
That's a ward you'd
that's
get
fine.
perspective in, wouldn't you?
Oh, and I'm telling you, the nurses that do all the work in the hospital, but especially that ward,
Yeah.
incredible.
Wow.
Absolute magnificent people.
Yeah.
Spending their time, and it's not the happiest place to be around, but spending their time giving people hope, distracting people as well, making them laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they are the absolute troopers there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hats off, hey.
definitely.
Day in, day out.
Yep. And then I think by then, I'd finished chemo.
Yeah.
And that again, that bit of limbo anxiety started again, because it's like, technically I should be cancer free, but you know, it's never a guarantee in this game.
Yeah.
So you go through that cycle a little bit again, like what if?
Yeah.
So you're just like, let's just do the scan and let's just go from there. So like I had another
I
conversation.
remember those days.
Oh, yeah.
Those waiting days
Yeah.
of like, I'm going in for my scan.
Yeah. It's the
And
limbo
at that point, you were completely symptom free.
Yep.
So hang on, question: when did you stop shitting out blood? Because you got your bag.
Yep.
After your first round of chemo.
Yeah.
So when did you stop noticing? At which point did you notice
6 days after my first round of chemo.
you stopped shitting
6
blood?
days, and that's what else gave me hope, because I was like, it's taking away my only symptom I have really, which is the blood.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen blood since.
Wow.
Like, touch wood. Which is like, then that also gives you hope.
Yeah. So
So
you hold on to
you
that.
use it.
Right, it's working.
You use it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that really helped me. And staying relatively fit and moving during the whole process helps a lot.
Yeah. Do you feel like the fitness that you built up? I mean, all your bloods were really good and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel like that helped you throughout the process?
Definitely, it was definitely the foundation of like where my body was, and it could take the stress of what was going to happen to it. So
Man,
yeah, so we had
pays to be healthy, huh?
oh, definitely. And you don't know what you lost until you lose your health. Money comes and goes, shit comes and goes, but once you lose your health, you do start to feel hopeless.
Fuck.
Yeah. So, after that,
Huge
so
perspective, dude.
Yeah.
Massive.
I got that last CT, and that just showed this lady Hannah asked Nick if she could deliver the good news to me.
Yeah.
So she said, "Yeah, you're
That's
cancer free,
nice.
basically."
Wow. That's so good.
And that is the biggest weight off the shoulders.
Wow.
Yeah,
That would be a very big moment.
massive. It's like almost to the point where you don't know how to comprehend it because it's so overwhelming.
So when you found out you had cancer?
Yep.
You mentioned that you had an out of body experience. Do you
Yeah.
feel like it was the same, but in a positively driven way?
Definitely.
You would have been walking on clouds, mate.
Literally, like at North Shore, you don't ring a bell. They don't have a bell. I know at I think RPA, I think they have a bell.
Oh, right.
When people are cancer free and they ring it.
They ring the bell. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, I think gives a lot of other people
I think it
hope
helps
as well.
others. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
so-
that's a great point.
Yeah, I
Shit.
think walking out of there, I literally just messaged. I live, with my in-laws, as you know.
Yeah.
So I messaged my mother-in-law and I said, "Pop the champagne," and she's like, "Call me. What's the news?" So she's just completely confused by it.
Yeah.
So, I think it's very relieving process. Also, telling the people that you were more worried about in that process.
Yeah.
So people like my family and my close friends.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that was like a big relieving process.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because I even talk about, through this whole process, like you need a good support system. And as strange as it sounds, you really do know who are your friends and who, in a relationship, it's got to be give and take. You really do realize who are the takers and not the givers.
Wow.
So for
Fuck.
me, I'd say my friendship base is smaller, but that much more important to me. And I'm fine with that, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
There's people, I actually pulled up some of my best friends halfway through the process and I go,
Hey.
yeah, literally, like you've been shit friends. Like I was brutal. I think I showed you the message.
Yeah, I know. I did see it, but
I was pretty brutal in the message, but they needed to know. They needed to understand how I felt.
I can only imagine that, like, you're in that position. You're allowed to feel exactly what you feel. And maybe, just maybe, that is actually your grieving process coming out.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe that's the anger.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I don't know if it's psychologically possible to not go through it. So perhaps it's, I don't know. What was that feeling? Angry? Were you abandoned?
Like I felt completely abandoned.
Right.
And that's why I was like, I need to message them. They need to know. They need to be aware.
Yep.
They've been shit people.
Wow.
I go, if you're not going to give to me or you're not going to support me, I'm done with this relationship.
Wow.
That's how.
Fuck.
And I left the group message. I literally bombed it and left it. I was like, deal with that. And I consult my best friend before I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I talk to him. I go, Brendo, how tough should I be on the group? And he goes, 6. As soon as I did that, he goes, bro, that was a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. That was a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So,
oh, shit.
Yeah, but I think that was also a bit of a part, like that was a weight off my shoulder because that was something that stressed me out was the fact that people weren't touching base with me or they just think they're so completely unaware of what I was going through, even though I let them know. They're just in their own world and they're a bit busy, and I think it's perspective to me. That's all it is.
Yes.
It really is perspective.
So, yeah. I think, because I really want to learn a little bit about, well, what has this taught you? I mean, how old are you?
I'm 30 now.
So you're 30.
Yep.
You know, at the age of 30, like, what it's taught you, I don't want to ask that question just yet, because, like, I mean, where are you now? I mean, you've had your second round of cancer, chemo, sorry.
Yep.
You've been told you're cancer fucking free.
Yep.
Which is, that's it. That's Dimo the Conqueror.
Yep.
How did you celebrate that night?
Popped a champagne.
Did ya?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I got drunk or anything like that, but just have a nice quiet drink, and I just need that time to reflect with my wife a little bit. Which was really nice, and just try and soak it all in. And I'd say that lasted for a couple of weeks. I'm like, let's go out. You know, we're having a celebratory dinner.
Yeah.
And throughout the process, like, when you have small wins,
yes,
after chemo,
you got to take them.
You got to take them.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck this. We're going to this dinner place.
Yeah.
We're going to this.
Mate, I remember, and by no ways is a comparison, but I'm just resonating.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I used to write goals, and one of the things that I naively used to write was, achieving this goal is the reward.
Yeah.
That's such a pragmatic, fucking, I don't know, not a good way of celebrating your wins. Hey, you did this, therefore you are now rewarded. But no, like, as in, you've got to pop the bottle of bubbly and really savor it and enjoy it.
Definitely take the small wins when you can.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
And how long ago was that? Do you remember the date of being cancer-free?
1st of October. That's when I was told.
So,
I think it was Thursday or Friday.
So 24th of October till the 9th of October.
29th
of October to the 1st of October.
Yeah.
Wow,
but we
so
weren't
almost
done.
12 months.
Because I still had the ileostomy bag, so I had
You
to get
had
that.
the bag. Oh,
had
yeah.
the bag.
Okay, so
bury the bag.
And that's the 1st of October this year.
Yep.
2020.
Yes.
Right. So how long did you have the bag now?
I had the bag for 6 months, literally 6 months to the day.
Yep.
Because I had surgery. I think it was May the 4th, and I had, for the original surgery, to put the bag on, and I had the reverse ileostomy, so taking the bag off.
Yep.
On November the 5th.
Right.
Yeah. So it was literally 6 months with the bag.
To the day.
And it's weird because, like, you know, you'd think that all I thought the surgery was going to be was they stitch up the little hole of where the feces comes out, pop your intestine back in, and then stitch you up.
It sounds pretty simple.
Simple. They did half of that. They leave the hole. So they stitch the intestine, popped it back in, and then they allow your body to, like, naturally heal.
So you have, like, a fucking hole in your stomach.
So I had a hole in my stomach that's it's still healing.
What?
Yeah. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, you know, when
so it's like you're a whale.
Yeah, it's like this crevasse. You can, like, you can sing into it and it echoes and stuff. Yeah.
Hello. Wow.
The Dimo crevasse.
Wow. If I... No, I'm not going to... That's too gross.
You can go there.
No, let's move on. No, it's we'll freak the listeners out here.
Yeah.
We're getting a little weird, I reckon. We could. But in terms of... So you've had that, and you've been bagless now for... That would be 6 weeks.
5 weeks now.
Yeah, 5 weeks bagless.
Yeah. And I'm going the follow-up next week with the surgeon. Just to make sure everything's healing all right.
So it heals from the outside in, or the inside out?
The hole didn't necessarily close up. What happened was, because it was quite deep, it actually healed from the inside out.
Oh, wow.
So, it's at that point where it's, like, scabbed up now, which is nice. And, you know, I've started a little bit of training now, which is even better.
It's good.
Because I need to train. I really enjoy training. So
you'll have a fair bit of rehab after this too, hey?
Yeah. I've already started the rehab process with Jacko.
Because your freaking oblique and your transversus abdominis just got punctured.
It doesn't really work at the moment. It's inhibited, I'd say. So
it's cut in the...
Literally.
Like it's been interrupted.
Yeah. So I'll be getting into some Pilates as well.
Yeah, nice.
So I just need the all okay from the doctor to do all that.
Yep.
But again, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness.
Well, if you feel good.
Well, yeah, I did a little bit of squatting on the weekend.
It's mechanical. It's not like it's going to affect your bowel-ish.
No.
No.
it won't.
No.
A lot of scar tissue though.
Yeah. I'd imagine that's not going to move very well.
Nah, yeah, it doesn't.
Wow.
So I think still got a little bit of road to recovery in terms of where I want to be, but I think the main thing is that I'm cancer free.
Yes.
So,
well, mate, that's a huge congratulations for getting through that, and you've conquered it.
thank you.
What a journey that's been. What have you, like, throughout that process? I mean, you're actually still at balance.
Yeah.
I don't know how we did it, but like, obviously you weren't treating any patients, and I'm sure patients were hounding you a fair bit.
Especially when they'd see me around clinic and be like, "Oh, you're back." Be like, "Not completely."
No. Yes. Long story there.
Yeah.
And I think it was quite ambiguous for them, as they weren't sure. They I know a lot of patients thought that you had depression.
Yep.
They thought you had some sort of mental or psychological obstacles to deal with. Others assumed it was cancer. Others just had no idea and were just worried about you. And I'm sure that patients were texting you from here, but I think the key was to keep it pretty ambiguous from Balance's perspective, and to not really let that out. So how did you stay involved at the clinic?
So I was lucky enough. We pretty much made a role for me, didn't we?
Yeah, we figured it out.
Yeah. So it was a lot of computer-based stuff in terms of, learning what marketing is, learning to read and discover what real social media is.
Yep.
And also help manage the team a little bit as well at times.
Yeah.
So I had plenty to keep me busy, which was nice. That wasn't in the clinic rooms, but I tell you why I missed it.
Yeah, I bet.
I think this process showed me that my true calling is
chiro.
Is chiro.
100%, mate.
Definitely, because it just, even that first day back,
yeah,
when you weren't feeling well,
I was unwell.
I was like, I'll step in. I was happy to.
Yeah,
I was waiting for it.
I was also happy that you did.
Yeah.
Yes. For those that don't know, I had to step in for Dimo at Bondi Junction in the year that he's been off, and that was a huge challenge for me to soldier on and be able to essentially continue to double hand my role of treat the patients that I needed to treat at Bondi Junction in lieu of James, but then also build the future for the company at the same time. And
you're wearing a lot of hats then.
I was wearing a lot of hats, and it's definitely taken some pressure off me. Now I can just have one full-time job. But that's, by no way am I saying that to make you feel bad. It's more just, we really care for you, mate, and making sure that the platform was set for your return was very, very important to me, to the team, and to the patients. So
definitely.
So now that you and for what it's worth, although you're not one of the co-hosts, this podcast wouldn't actually exist without you.
Yeah, I do help out on a lot of the behind the scenes and organisation of it, and almost at times kicking your ass into gear to make it happen. But
yes,
that was the opportunity given to me, so of course I was going to run with that.
And you did a stellar job, mate. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
In terms of, like, over the past, I mean, you're at the age of 30, like we said, you've been through basically a year of torture.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn?
That I am mentally stronger and physically, but mainly mentally stronger than I ever thought was capable.
Wow.
And a lot of people said to me, how do you deliver that mindset? I'm not sure. It's just, it is what it is. You have to deal with that. I don't think I would have been able to be as strong-minded to tell you the truth, a lot of the stuff that we've done here and my professional and personal development I've done at Balance, because we do a lot of work and have done a lot of work on mindset.
Yep.
So I think, it just paved the way to make me mentally stronger and actually have some mental toughness and grit.
Mate.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. Do you feel like working through, because originally we had you on a deload program.
Yeah.
So you'd work at your high intensity at that point for 3 weeks, and then you'd have a week.
Yeah, a week at easier.
Do you feel like that built your grit and your mental fortitude, do you feel?
Definitely. I think also that physical capacity, because seeing people, although it fills my cup, it does, at the end of the week, it takes a lot out of you
Yes,
as well.
yes.
So I think building that tolerance and that capacity definitely helped pave the way of what I had to go through. But I think more so that my mindset behind what I had to deal with, and we're here at Balance, we're all about making the plan. Like, what's the plan? Let's look at the schedule. What is the plan? So I think that also helped in the sense of I knew I was being looked after. Once I knew the plan, I understood the plan, and I was like, let's tackle it.
Wow. It's awesome, dude.
I think there was just no other way for me to look at it as the sense of like, this is the position you're in. You cannot change that. No matter how much you want to, this is happening.
Like when you look at people that are like Paralympians and people that are obviously suffering from disabilities, or stuck with some sort of lifelong condition that they can't conquer, the only thing that you can really own and the only thing that you can be the master of the domain with is your mind. And that's why you have people that are able to compete at the Olympics with disabilities, that work through obstacles that are physically paralyzing, but have the strongest mind. Look at Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
Like one of the most powerful minds ever known. And what you just said there, you are much more mentally strong. If there's anything that I've learnt over 10 years of looking after people's physical health, musculoskeletal health, the power of psychology.
Oh, it's insane. I think that's also what gave me the strength at times to deal with what I had to deal with. And like I said, I would use other influences like music, or like there would be days where I'd look in the mirror, like just before I knew I was going to have some sort of a big treatment, and I'd just say, you got this.
Yeah.
Like, you've got it. Let's go.
Beliefs equal thoughts, which equal actions, which equal results,
Yep.
which equal beliefs.
And it just keeps going.
Around and around. So all you need to do is just say it.
Yep.
You've got this. Fuck, man.
Yeah, you've got to almost at times influence your mind to believe that as well. But
so what are you going to say to someone that's in pain that feels sorry for themselves?
I guess you have to find out what's their limiting belief of why they have to stay in pain, or how are you going to manage it? Like, realistically, like, there are things you cannot change. How else can we help you? How else are you going to manage that?
Yes.
Because as much as you'd like to, I don't have the magic pill.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone has the magic pill.
Yeah.
So this is the challenge you have. What's the opportunity you have out of this?
If there's anything that your story has taught me, it's the simple fact that not only can you not get through it with you had 3 specialists and a very fucking good nurse, sounds like.
Yeah.
You had your wife, you had your family, your in-laws, you had balance.
Yep.
You had your friends.
Yep.
Like, if that's what it takes for someone to survive cancer, not only that, you had chemo, you had surgery, you had radio, you had pills, you had this multifaceted approach to treat you. Well, of course, cracking your lower back for your chronic lower back pain that's not going away is not going to solve the problem.
No.
Like, it's not the same thing as cancer that you've conquered, but you need a multifaceted approach. You need a support network. You need a conducive home environment. You need a conducive work environment. You need a conducive exercise environment.
What are you putting into your body as well?
You need good
your nutrition.
diet.
Yeah. So it really is, and it's funny because how you react to, how my body reacted to, say, chemo or to radiation, to the surgery. Even my doctors would say it's so multifaceted. Like, I was like, how do I lower my liver function tests were getting high towards the end of chemo.
Yeah.
And my platelets were dropping. And I was like, how can I raise my platelets and how can I lower my liver function tests and enzymes? And they're like, it's not as easy as taking a supplement. It is multifaceted.
Wow.
So it's like, make sure you're moving, make sure you diet, make sure you're hydrating.
Yeah,
and that would really,
Like, in order to change the way your liver functions, you might have to change it's not just fix the liver. It's like, well, you might need to ingest a different fuel.
Yeah.
Or stop a different fuel, or make something else function better in order for the liver to not be overloaded.
Yep.
Just like pain, you've got shoulder pain, for example. Well, that pain in your shoulder is because of overload, because something is not doing its job.
Something's
it's
not
the same
working hard
shit,
enough,
isn't it?
yeah. Or you're not recovering enough, or like I said, there's so many factors. You can't just say it was this one thing.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
But I think for anyone going through like that sort of treatment, especially cancer, I think it's, you know, if you've got your support network and you're not happy with someone because you feel like, you know, you're a good support to them and you're expecting them to be a good support to you, you have to let them know.
Yes.
If people are so unaware of
Their own actions,
shit,
right? Yeah, 100%.
that you need to make them aware. And my way of doing that was being direct.
Yes.
And being like, you've been a shit friend.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue this friendship? Because I'll if you want to cut it, I'm happy to cut it.
Wow.
But this is the expectation I have from now. Do you want to meet that expectation? Yes or no? You have to have those conversations with people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because when I told them, you know, the people that I thought would care a little bit more, some of them were crying, and I'm like,
They can't believe they let you down.
yeah. And it's like, I've got a friend now that, and I think people who haven't been through any hardship as well,
Yep.
they just don't know how to understand.
No.
They can kind of get it and comprehend it. They do not understand.
Yes, I always am concerned or cautious of chiros physios that haven't had their own injuries,
Yeah.
that haven't experienced some sort of pain. Somewhere.
Yeah, it's so true. So I think if I could give any advice to anyone going through this is like, the people who you expect to keep close and you want to keep close, make sure that they understand that. And if they don't, you need a new support network because they're not supporting. That's not a relationship. If it's a give and take way and they're just taking and not giving, that is not a relationship.
Yes.
That's bullshit. That's what it is.
Yes.
Really.
It's something that consumes more than it contributes. Is a cancer.
Yeah. Literally. So, you know, you could say like, you know, keep your friends closer and blah, 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 whatever. But you need to understand that some people will not rise to that challenge. I think people need to be aware of that. People who you thought that would.
So hang on. There's so throughout this process, you're not only dealing with the emotions of your family, your loved ones, but you're also dealing with like relational issues where interpersonally you're being let down by certain people that you expected more from, and I suppose, you know, some would say, well, the problem is you had expectations in the first place, but fucking why shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, you've got if it's a friendship, like, what does friendship mean to you? It might mean something completely different to someone you thought was close.
That's it.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with having expectations. It just hurts when you get let down.
Yeah.
And so you've got your own health, you've got the fucking shit you're going through, you've got to wake up 3 times a day, and you're pissed that your friends aren't even calling you.
It's another stress that you don't need.
Yeah.
So
what's worse, like them contacting you too much or not enough at all? So
yeah,
obviously
exactly.
too much. Yeah.
It's funny because Brendan's literally like, my best mate was like, he asked at the beginning, he's like, I'm just going to check in with you every day. And I'm like, I actually don't want you to do that.
Yes.
I need some space there.
That's
so
good. Yeah.
Yeah, you need your space to absorb what's going on and just have your own time. And, you know, I had my biggest support was my wife. So
Yeah.
I would not have been able to go through what I went through without my wife.
Wow.
Definitely. She's like my number one.
Huge.
Yeah.
She's a legend.
She's a machine.
Yeah.
Mate, I remember, so just a quick side note, we had a, one of my reactions I had to chemo, we had to go to a hospital that wasn't Royal North Shore, and they didn't really know how to deal with me. They saw my chemo pack and I said it was a chemo pack and they're like, oh, just take it off. Why is it connected to you? I go, it's chemotherapy, it's injecting into me. I felt like the doctors were dumbasses there. And at one point,
wow.
they're all standing around. I had a huge fever. And my wife goes, if you're not going to effing help us, Christy is like
Wow.
a timid,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
not shy, but
Yeah.
like she's reserved.
Yeah.
And she unleashed, if you're not going to fucking look after him, we're going to go somewhere with it, Will. Either you transfer us or we're walking out right now. You either help him or we're walking out. And they were like, holy crap. And I was just like, I didn't have the energy to fight as much then. And I was looking at her and I was like, I love you.
Yeah. You're just like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
like, well, okay, we'll stabilize him and then we'll transfer him. I'm like, good,
Mate,
done.
there's no better support than a strong woman next to you, mate.
Oh, she's a machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Titan.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I mean, so I suppose, so now you're in remission.
Yep.
And what does remission mean?
Well, technically I'm cancer-free,
Yeah.
but the next 5 years are pretty crucial.
Yeah.
They'll monitor me for the next 5 years. I'll be doing scans and blood tests once a year for the next 5 years. I'll be going for, regular colonoscopies as well. And it's just a monitoring system because the chances of you developing a cancer in the next 5 years are at their highest. So
Right.
if once I get through the next 5 years, it's like you can let the guard down a little bit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And you still haven't had any symptoms.
None. My energy is
Yeah.
probably the best it's ever been.
In your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit, this is what a 29, 30-year-old was supposed to feel like.
So how would you compare yourself in 2018 to now? In terms of energy, attitude, sort of demeanor?
Oh shit. I would say, a maturity level, definitely,
Yeah.
in terms of what I've learned and what I've gone through. Energy-wise, I feel like I've got at least 50% more energy than what I had. So I'm running at 150% compared to 2018. Yeah, I just feel really good. And, I think it's showing me that you just got to take, any opportunity that's given to you, just take it.
Yep.
You've got to run with it. You can't be saying, what if, or, because it might be your last. And I think one of the things that helped me like come to terms with that as well is like, I could be driving any day and have a car accident and die.
Yes.
So death is, everyone's going to die at some point.
Yes.
So I think that in itself would help me kind of deal with it and be like, well, okay, I could be in a car accident and die. I was like, fuck it. I got this. I can fight this. Let's do it. So yeah, that's another thing. It's just a bit of reality.
Wow. How's it changed your perspective on life then?
Like I said, just take the opportunities given to you. Like, you don't want any wasted opportunities, any wasted challenges.
Do you feel like you've said no to things that you shouldn't have?
Not now. It's like you have to just, accept the things you can't change the things you can if you want to.
Oh, mate, I'm going to fucking frame that.
Yeah, shit, that's pretty good. Hey, that literally just came to me.
Accept the things that you can't change and change the things that you can if you want to.
Yep.
Beautiful.
So I think,
mate, for those that are listening still, I don't know how long we've been going. Longer than an hour. But all I can do is, how can, like, what's the plan for James Dimitroff in 2021?
2021 is Dimo 2.0. So reconnecting with my dietitian. I'm going to be getting into my training a lot.
Yeah.
Looking, we're wanting to look at starting a family, but we can't yet because of what we've been through. So, if we've already accepted if we have to go down the IVF stage, or we've even talked about adoption.
Right.
So we want to start a family next year if we can. But I think it's going to be the Dimo's year.
Yes.
It's enough of everyone else's year. It's fucking the Dimo's year, 2021.
That's it.
Yeah.
Good on you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm fucking pumped. So how can the listeners thank you for this?
How can they thank me?
Yeah. How do they connect with you?
Oh, guys,
It's the question behind the question. Bro.
Yeah. I was like, thank me. I love red wine and I love food. No. Look, obviously, I work at Balance Health and Performance, so you can always contact me here via Sienna or Grace, and I've also got I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram handle is the Bald Sports Chiro.
Are you going to start using that again?
Well, I might have to change it after what are some of the stuff.
I think it needs to be. That was Dimo 1.0.
Yeah, we're going to go Dimo 2.0 and just go fuck it.
Why don't you just call it Dimo 2.0?
Might have to.
That's huge.
Okay.
With a quote underneath it.
Yeah, I probably should.
Whatever you can't
Whatever
change.
you can't change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's food for thought. But at the moment, it's it's the Bald Sports Chiro that's probably going to be changing to Dimo 2.0.
Yeah.
Hopefully, no one's taken that actually.
I'll fucking buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can always find me as James Dimitroff on Facebook as well.
Nice. And for the patients that are very clearly telling us that they're waiting for you, when are you coming back?
let's start of Jan.
Started. Hey!
So we're just using this period here to just, build some tolerance and a bit of capacity again. And then start of Jan, we'll start to open up my schedule just nice and slowly, because I can't kill myself with workload as well. So just be patient, guys. I am there for you, and I haven't forgotten about anyone as well.
No, you haven't. Oh, mate, thanks so much for sharing everything
Cool.
today.
Thanks for having me,
What a
guys.
journey.
Appreciate it.